They are two of history's greatest warriors, legendary commanders who captivated the world with their military prowess. But only one could emerge victorious from their inevitable clash of titans. Who will it be? Let the facts speak. As the Roman general approached, Hannibal gathered his troops, an elite force of 60,000 Carthaginians, Numidians and Gallic mercenaries ready to defend their homeland. The year was 200 to BC, the place, the North African plain of Zama. Their showdown was unavoidable. Hannibal had dragged Rome into a war that had already claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. Now he stood at the precipice of a final confrontation with the relentless Roman general Publius Cornelius Scipio at stake. Not just the fate of their respective nations, but their own legacies as military geniuses. The pressure was immense, yet something was different this time. A new strategy, a daring gamble, and an element of surprise were about to change everything. Scipio's invasion of Africa forced Hannibal to abandon his plans for a Roman conquest and instead return home to defend Carthage. He led his army out of the hills, forming a battle line with infantry in the center and cavalry on the flanks. His battle plan was simple, yet audacious. As the Roman legions advanced, a thick fog descended upon the battlefield, shrouding Hannibal's most fearsome weapon in mystery. What appeared to be mere fog turned out to be the key to Scipio's strategy. It hid his cavalry, which charged forward in 3 waves during the battle, each wave more numerous than the last. The first 2 waves were designed to engage the Numidian cavalry and the Gallic light horse. The third, to strike the heart of Hannibal's army, the war elephants. But how did Scipio plan to neutralize such a formidable threat? The answer lay in an ingenious tactic. Each of the 3 cavalry waves carried silver trumpets. As the first 2 waves advanced, they played a haunting melody. This was no ordinary music. It was the sound of surrender. The Carthaginians' response was instinctive. Fearing a trick, Hannibal ordered his elephants to move forward to eliminate the perceived threat. But this was precisely what Scipio had anticipated. As the elephants moved out, revealing themselves to the Romans, their riders sounded the third and final trumpet call. This time the tune was triumphant, announcing the arrival of reinforcements. In reality, there were no additional troops. It was just Scipio's cavalry returning from their hidden positions, now directly behind the Carthaginian lines. They attacked with the full force of their numbers, overwhelming the war elephants. Surprised and trapped, the elephants panicked, trampling their own ranks and causing havoc in the Carthaginian formations. The cavalry kept up the assault until the elephants were either slain or driven away. With their most dangerous weapon neutralized, the Carthaginians were at a disadvantage. Scipio's cavalry pursued them relentlessly, striking deep into enemy territory. Meanwhile, the Roman infantry, engaging the Carthaginian infantry head-on, fought with the ferocity of soldiers who knew their legions would soon be reinforced. Realizing that their situation was hopeless, Hannibal's brother Mago and Hamilcar Barca fled the battlefield, leaving Hannibal alone to face his fate. By nightfall, the Romans had achieved a complete victory. Their casualties were light compared to the devastation inflicted on the Carthaginians. Estimates suggest that while Rome lost around 2,000 men, Carthage suffered the loss of approximately 10,000 troops. This resounding victory not only secured Rome's supremacy over the Western Mediterranean, but also brought an end to the Second Punic War, a conflict that had lasted for 17 years. With the conclusion of the war, the once mighty Carthage found itself at the mercy of its victors. The peace treaty was anything but lenient. Rome's demands were exorbitant, including the seizure of a significant portion of Carthaginian territory and the payment of a massive indemnity. But these material losses paled in comparison to the blow dealt to Hannibal's military command. From this point forward, he never again took part in any major military campaign. He'd fought valiantly against overwhelming odds, but even the gods seemed to have turned against him. A seemingly minor detail from his past had been resurrected to paint him as a traitor. This was the alleged desecration of a Roman shrine in his hometown of Carthage, an event used by his political opponents to brand him a symbol of anti-Roman sentiment. These forces sought nothing less than Hannibal's exile from his homeland, and so it was that after suffering his final defeat at the hands of Scipio at the Battle of Zama, Hannibal's military career effectively came to an end. And here we come to the main character of our story today, the legendary Roman general Publius Cornelius Scipio, better known as Africanus. Born into a patrician family in 236 BC, Scipio's life was destined to be intertwined with the military glory of Rome. His father, Publius Cornelius Scipio, held the esteemed position of consul in 229 BC, and his mother, Livia, was from the prominent Caecilius Metellus family. Young Scipio's early exposure to politics and military affairs ignited his passion for public service. However, it was during the Second Punic War when his true mettle was tested. When Hannibal and his war elephants crossed the Alps and devastated central Italy, Scipio distinguished himself by defending the vital port of Lilybaeum from Carthaginian attacks. This crucial victory prevented Hannibal from receiving supplies from the sea, effectively cutting off his army's lifeline. It was at this point that Scipio earned the right to add the name Africanus to his title, signifying his pivotal role in containing Hannibal's advance in Africa. Following this, Scipio played a crucial role in recapturing the Spanish city of New Carthage, an important Carthaginian stronghold. He then proceeded to conquer the rest of Hispania, establishing Roman control over the region. His victories in Spain and Africa demonstrated his exceptional military skill and strategic brilliance, making him one of the most celebrated generals of his time. After achieving victory at Zama, Scipio went on to serve multiple times as consul and censor, playing a significant role in shaping Roman politics and society. He continued to lead armies in various campaigns, including the Third Macedonian War, where he defeated King Perseus, and in the First Syrian War, where he confronted Antiochus the Great. Throughout his career, Scipio displayed remarkable adaptability, learning from his experiences and adjusting his tactics accordingly. For example, in his campaign against Perseus, he utilized cavalry effectively, a departure from the heavy infantry focus of earlier Roman tactics. Despite his many accomplishments, Scipio's relationship with the Roman Senate was often strained due to his independent nature and his tendency to bypass traditional channels of power. He faced opposition and even accusations of misconduct, leading him to voluntarily go into exile for several years. However, his contributions to Rome were undeniable. He is remembered as one of the most successful generals in Roman history, and his military strategies and achievements had a lasting impact on Roman military thinking. Now let's dissect the battle itself. Although both commanders were brilliant, their approaches to warfare differed significantly. Hannibal's tactics centered around exploiting his adversary's weaknesses through strategic maneuvers, as seen in his crossing of the Alps and his initial battles with Rome. On the other hand, Scipio's strategy revolved around forcing Hannibal to confront his strengths head-on. To achieve this, Scipio had to lure Hannibal out of his fortified positions in northern Africa. Once the stage was set, Scipio's genius lay in his ability to exploit Hannibal's reliance on war elephants. By utilizing silver trumpets to deceive the Carthaginians, causing them to waste valuable resources on imaginary threats. Then there's the question of terrain. The open plains of Zama favored neither side. Hannibal's cavalry and war elephants might have thrived in denser woodlands, but here they were vulnerable to ambush and encirclement. Scipio recognized this and positioned his troops accordingly, ensuring that Hannibal's mobility wouldn't turn into a decisive advantage. And finally, we need to consider the psychological aspect. Hannibal's army was not just tired from years of war, but also homesick. Many of his troops had been fighting far from their homelands for years. Scipio understood this and denied them the chance to rest, keeping his troops constantly on the move and forcing Hannibal into a continuous cycle of campaigning and retreat. In essence, Scipio's strategy was to make Hannibal fight his way, to force the Carthaginians into a confrontation on terms dictated by the Romans. By doing so, he turned the very strengths that had made Hannibal invincible into the weapons that led to his downfall. If you like historical battles, stay tuned for more videos on the greatest battles ever fought. Your support helps us grow and bring history to life.